Hello, my name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have y'all back here together again. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing Episode 8 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And you might be wondering why I have a big smile on my face, because we finally got Daredevil in this show. The character we've been waiting for ever since he was in the Comic-Con trailer. So let's go ahead and get started talking about this episode, shall we? Alright, so easily, this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the series. Maybe even top 3. And most of that is because of Daredevil coming back. But to kind of, yeah, it could be because of that, but here's my background of Marvel, like, of all Marvel content. So, when I started watching Marvel, when it came to movies, I watched Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man films, Eric Bana's Hulk, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and then later integrated with the MCU. And then when it came to TV shows, I mostly watched the Marvel animation stuff. I watched Avengers Assemble, Ultimate Spider-Man, that starred Drake Bell, a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, and then the Marvel Spider-Man show from 2017 I had a lot of fun with. So, but when it came to the Marvel Netflix shows, I never watched them. And most of that was because I wanted to watch them, they seemed interesting to me, but it's like, I was more, like I said, when I was younger, I was more into just watching action sequences on screen, not really interested in the characters or character development. But now that I'm older, I'm actually interested into what Marvel stories they're telling and what I missed in the past. So hearing about all this great stuff that Marvel Netflix did with these characters seems like a great job of what they can do with storytelling. But then we announced that, we got a little glimpse that maybe Matt Murdock's going to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, which he did. And then we saw Kingpin in the finale of Hawkeye. And then we're seeing Daredevil in this show. We're seeing Daredevil and Kingpin in Echo. And then we're going to see both of them in the revival of Daredevil, Daredevil Born Again, in 2 years for the return of Daredevil in the MCU. That's a great way. And honestly, I had a theory about that maybe since Matt Murdock's going to be in No Way Home, that maybe he will get a Disney Plus series eventually. But I didn't want to think that because I never thought they would add, like, mature content on Disney Plus. But they did it anyway, so it's coming. But overall, yeah, so I'm kind of liking that they're integrating the Marvel Netflix shows in the Marvel Netflix characters in the MCU, while reintroducing them, but also introducing them for people that don't know who these characters are. So what was my interpretation of Matt Murdock's Daredevil in this show, in this episode? I loved it. I thought that, even though I didn't really know him, everything that they did with him, I thought was great. Personally, when he walks in, I know the Daredevil show is known for being more serious. You're gonna have to at least expect a few jokes here and there. With this one, I think that the jokes for him worked in this, especially when he was joking about parking and stuff, and just doing all that stuff as he is the true lawyer. Like, he's doing what he does best in lawyering, and it's just awesome. And it was just so cool. And the fact that he actually mentioned some stuff about the Sokovia Accords was also pretty cool. And then even then, another thing I really liked was the interactions between him and Jen, which was something that, like, was really profound, as they're both lawyers, they're both superheroes, and so he's able to help Jen work through that superhero life, as Jennifer Walters can help do the law, and S.H.I.E.L.D. can help the law when the law fails them. Something like that. It's hard to understand, but at the same time, it's very cinematic. And then you get Daredevil in the yellow and red suit. And also, one thing I also like talking about is, as they're kind of reintroducing him into this universe, they kind of, talk about his past of where he came from, like, that this guy, this tailor that made the red and yellow suit, he made the red and yellow suit. It's different from the guy that made the red suit in the Daredevil show, and that he came from Hell's Kitchen, and that he did all this stuff in the Daredevil show. Like, they're kind of rediscovering him, and then kind of discovering if he's blind, how is he a superhero? He has like this echolocation where he has really good hearing. Like, it finds ways to reintroduce him while not going so much into every single detail of his origins and how his powers work. And it's really cool the way they do that. And then even in the jokes when they're on the way to going to fight the Leapfrog Squad, the jokes about him hearing everyone's heartbeats, which goes back to a joke about his hearing. It's honestly a pretty clever joke. And then you get another hallway sequence in this show, and I'm thinking, like, the music, the atmosphere, and the way it's all shot. I mean, it was such a cool action sequence. And I already saw that hallway sequence on YouTube, and it's amazing. Like, that's the thing about Marvel. You watch all these different projects, and they can definitely do different projects than just CGI. They can do real stunt work. That's kind of like John Wick in a way, where it's a lot more practical and stuff like that. So that was great. So the action, just seeing him beat up guys, was fun and great. And then, just once again, he kind of had a great night, as he basically almost got his ass whooped. He got to meet a girl. He got to beat up some guys, and then had a one-off stand, and then did the Walk of Fame. Perfect way to do this type of story, and it was definitely worth it all. And I had because after all Jennifer Walters has been through with guys, it was pretty clear that they were gonna hook up. It had to be. So now let's talk about some of the stuff that happened with Jen in this episode. I also think the other great thing about this episode was the way they actually also did the story for Jen, her arc and her story of it. Where when you get to that final where once he walks out, everyone's thinking, like, is there something else coming? Like, is this episode over yet? So they go to the gala. She's getting a Female of the Year award, but then the intelligentsia things come up on the screen, and they reveal her hooking up with guys, and she gets mad, and then she tries to catch a guy, but then she's caught by the police, and then in this sequence, you start to realize that, well, actually, one more thing, and that it does a perfect way to end it, where she just breaks the fourth wall again without needing to say a word, which I thought was perfect, by the way. It was a great way to do that moment. Great way. You didn't need to say a word. Most moments in superhero stuff, not really the biggest fan of that, but like, especially stuff I don't get, you need to say something. But with this, you understand it, and it was perfect. But this one, it goes back to that thing where She-Hulk was like, so this is what Bruce was talking about. Wait, if you remember from the first episode when he said, when people start seeing you as a monster, it never goes away. And this is what he meant by that. And it's kind of a profound way to do a story. And they're kind of using her in the Spider-Man sort of sense, where she doesn't really want to do this, where she doesn't really, it's not that she doesn't care for people, but she doesn't want to, how could she use her powers for, how could she use her Hulk powers for loitering? Hulking has nothing to do with loitering in any way. So, I thought that was a little bit, weird, but yeah, I thought it ended off on a good note, and honestly, from this cliffhanger right here, I'm excited for next week's episode. I'm so excited, just to see how it all goes down. So yeah, that's pretty much the good on this episode. Now let's talk about the bad. Now, when it comes to the bad on this episode, I have to say the biggest problem I have, easily the worst character of the show, of this episode, is Leapfrog. I found him to be very annoying, and the thing is, I was actually kind of excited to see him because they set him up as this this frog superhero. So I'm thinking like, oh, that sounds awesome. Like he's gonna have like the power to like, he's gonna be like a mutant frog or something. No, he's a literal guy in a suit that has rocket boots, and he's basically Buddy Pine from The Incredibles, who has like rocket boots, who is this wannabe superhero, and it turns out that he wanted more inventions from the tailor guy, from Luke Davidson, or whatever his name is, Luke Jacobson, I don't know. So yeah, Leapfrog was definitely one of the worst characters of this show, of this episode. And also, I guess you could say the other problem I had was the way that the ending was executed. Now, to be clear, I had no problems with Daredevil. I had no problems with that at all. I guess you could say the stuff with Jennifer in the courtroom where she thought it was just random fuel that, like, why would you need to go into court for your boots getting on fire? Like, that's also the biggest problem with this show, is that some of these things don't need to go into court. It just happens. It just happens in superhero life. You mess up and you can fix it. What's that to go into court for? And I mean, I guess it makes sense because you're blaming it on the person that created your suit. So it's kind of dumb, but I don't know. But the last thing I want to talk about here is the ending, where she gets exposed. And honestly, it's not exactly the best well executed. Like, sure, it's embarrassing to see your like sex life on camera, but like, how is that really exposing someone? Because she's not really doing anything wrong or anything. People that are in love do this. So, and so like, she smashes the TV and everybody runs out, and it's clear that everybody's gonna run out if someone is big and angry. But it's not well executed in that, though. At the same time, it gets me psyched for what's coming next. So that's pretty much my review for She-Hulk Episode 8. Before I give my final score, be sure to comment down below what were your thoughts on Episode 8 of She-Hulk. Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? What are you between? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section below. With that said, let's get on my scores. Alright, so now that we got my scores out of the way, we're going to talk about some theories I have on this episode leading into future MCU projects. So the first one, we're going to see Daredevil and Echo and Daredevil Born Again with Vincent D'Onofrio coming back. Let's go, baby. I'm also excited to see the finale of She-Hulk. I'm hoping that maybe Abomination will come into the next episode and will probably lead into Thunderbolts. I'm hoping that he will be in Thunderbolts. He has to, because he had a big redemption in this show. Hoping he does. Hopefully we'll see Hulk in here, and he'll probably have backup from Sakaar with his son Scar, and that will probably sound like a Planet Hulk film, considering the Universal contribution rights will be coming back to Disney in June of 2023. And I don't really think I have any other theories. And maybe this might set up some sort of Avengers team. Will She-Hulk be part of the new Avengers team with Sam Wilson's Captain America? Who knows? But that's pretty much all my theories I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All my social media stuff is in the About section over there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.